Welcome to the live stream tonight, everybody. Get started in just a minute. Always have a few stragglers. Hope everybody's doing well. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to session 7 of the Camp Zombie character design and show design live stream. My name is Kyle Gentry. This week I'm going to be focusing on character cleanup for some of the side characters and a few of the main characters, maybe. It depends on how much time we have tonight as I go through them. So if you were here last week, I redefined Lurkin, the zombie himself. I redefined him, gave him a much cleaner look. What you're seeing here is the full lineup of everybody that I've designed so far for the show. So, give you a much closer look. So we've got Venny, we've got Donna, who we're going to focus on tonight a little bit more. I'm going to fix some issues with her design, keep her more in tune with the look of the show. And then I finally named this guy. His name is Turo. He's the enthusiast. He's the camper that's the enthusiast on zombies and horror and comic books and things like that. He's kind of the geek. So he's the important one to have. He has all the lowdown on what's what. And we have Sheila, who is a camper from Australia. She's an exchange camper. There's an American who's gone to a camp over there, and she's come over here, and she's kind of the animal guru. She is a tough little girl. She's from Australia. There isn't anything here in America that scares her at all because the animals they have over there are just so much bigger and badder and much more dangerous. So over here, they're nothing. They're like bunny rabbits, all of them. Then we have Terry Ann, who is one of the counselors. She's the tough, tough counselor who's always going off on him, who's bullying him a little bit, that kind of thing. And then I finally came up with a name for this guy. This is the camp bus driver. So he drives an airboat with rows of seats that's just like a bus. His name is Big Dealy Neely. Big Dealy was his nickname when he was a NASCAR driver. And Neely is his last name. His first name is Wheelie. So it's Wheelie Big Dealy Neely. But that'll come out in an episode or something like that. Something that I plug in there for much further down the road. Just a fun little thing. Then we have Mr. Edsel, who is the head counselor. He's kind of like the manager, if you will, of the camp. He is Donna's uncle. And he's been coming to this camp since he was a little kid, too. He loves the camp. He's all about the camp. And then we have Director Scratchel. Now, I just named him recently, and I'm going to redesign. I'm going to focus on his design again a little bit, do some cleanup on him. It was a good start, but he needs a lot more work. So, and then, of course, we have Ben Lurkin, or just Lurkin, as we're going to call him, who is the focus of the show, him and his friendship with Venny and the other campers. Little recap, he got terminal brain freeze from eating Patootie de Fruity ice cream that was way out of date, and he's been basically buried at the camp or in a basement or something like that at the camp. Actually, not a basement. Maybe an old shack or something like that, since the 1980s. So he's like a teenager who had this summer job who got terminal brain freeze and he became this zombie. So that's the gist of everything. Let me bring it back down. So this is the whole lineup. So far, there's going to be more characters and such as we go, but I figured this would be a good session to focus on a little bit more of a cleanup effort. So I've got all of those guys on one layer. And get rid of the line. And keep Venny up because he is the basis of the design. He's this little egg-shaped dude, this little guy who befriends this zombie and is the everyman. He's the us in the show. So he is the design focal point. So the design needs to revolve around what would work with him, what matches his design. He is the crux of the entire thing. So I've got about 4 characters that I can tighten up tonight that I've made layers for. We'll start with Donna and see how far we get. If we don't get that far, then I'll use another session to tighten up the other characters. So in tightening, it gives me a chance to do a little bit of oversketching and fixing some issues that I had with her. Specifically her eyes. She looks older than she should. And I'm going to play with that a little bit. The design of the eyes is a little off, so I'm going to play with size. You know, I'm not worried about this other areas right here. Yeah, that's much better. So, and I'm going to do another sketch on top of her that's a little bit rough just to kind of lay it in, and then I'll get rid of the underneath part. If anybody has any questions, lay them on me. That's what I'm here for. All right. So, make my brush just a hair bigger. A little bit bigger than that. There we go. So the eyes have kind of this open inside to them on all the characters for the most part. The adults have a line that goes down the middle, so I'm going to get rid of hers a little bit. Man, there we go. Just not super precise. And she's looking up, and I don't want that. I want her looking more out. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, now she's falling more into design with Venny and the other campers. Now have a little bit of a cross-eyed look to them. Okay, throw in some of that color. Give myself a space for the color. Indication of the little highlights. They're so important in my work with this kind of. And she's also she doesn't have a very pleasant expression on her face, and I want her to be just this burst of personality, so she needs to be smiling. I'd just, if I was going to present her to somebody with the intention of selling the show, I want her to have there you go, a little bit more pleasant. So her nose is also a little too detailed. I'm just going to indicate nostrils. I'm not going to overdo that. So still going to leave in the eyelashes. I still fall back on that old way of indicating boy girl, that whole thing. She's a little bit of a fashionista. She's all about the accessories. Like I said, the first time I drew her, like especially the hair bands and these big tufts of hair that come out the side. So got a little bit of a crush on Venny. She really likes him, but she'd never say it. That would be a whole thing too, because so does the girl from Australia. For some reason, he's a little bit of a ladies' man, and he doesn't realize it, which makes the whole thing hilarious. All right, so that fixes her face where I'd like it. So I'm going to get rid of what's underneath here so it doesn't distract. Yep. Those are a little too much. She's a fashionista, so she'd want a little bit more. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to lower that. Actually, I'm going to bring both of these back up to 100%. And I know she looks a little silly right now. That's okay. This is only for the underdrawing, so I can clean up her lines. go to my old darker pencil, and like I said, when I say old, that's just because it is from a previous version of Clip Studio that I can't seem to I can't get the I can't get some of the brushes to be the same settings. Like, it says it's the same brush, but they don't feel the same. So I brought them over from an older version of Clip Studio Paint, which works better. A little smaller. There we go. All right. And I'll redraw an oval several times until I get it where I want it. And I'll clean up after I've filled just a little. So I go a little bit quiet when I'm focused, so my apologies. You know, and I've been thinking about this week too, you know, design-wise, like other things that need to go in here, and you know, I've got several other series that I'm focused on as well, of art, of character art and things like that I saw at shows and such. I do a lot of comic conventions in Florida. If you live in Florida, I go to Spooky Empire, which is here in Orlando. There's 2 of them a year, and I also go to the Tampa Bay Comic Con. If you live near Memphis, for whatever reason, I go to the Mid-South Con in Memphis, and it's not going to happen this year. It got postponed again because of COVID. So, big bummer, but, you know, what are you going to do? I can't do anything about that. Wow, man, I almost nailed that first time. Part of the problem is I recently switched computers, and everything feels a little bit different, and I'm working off a muscle memory from how it felt before. So that's a little bit of, not a huge issue, but it's a challenge, you know. It's a challenge. And it does help to get curves where you want, to make the screen much bigger. So you're not using your wrist to draw, you're using your arm. Like, I'm doing like a whole arm movement here. I just keep going until I get it right where I want it. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Okay. I don't like that line. There we go. A lot of trial and error with the lines. Almost had it. There we go. I'm just building on the line on this side, and I'm not trying to make it too big. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, back up. You know, not liking this. I got too close to it. Try it again. That's better. There's a little bit of a difference, like from the plan, like, you know, lines always shift and change form and take on a shape of their own, as you're redrawing them over and over again. And that's okay. because that gives more character to the actual character. You know what I need to do? I need to do this on a layer above this, that way I'm not messing up the line itself. I keep drawing it. Do one thing real quick. There we go. Made a mistake and was drawing outside of the set group of layers that I had set for her. Happens all the time. So I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt tonight because it's unseasonably cold down here, and I know it's freezing in other areas, so I figured I'd bring a little bit of festive quality to the live stream tonight. So look at that. Nailed it almost in one shot when I wasn't worried too much about hurting the line below it. Much better. Other thing I was thinking of too is, like I said, Lurkin his personality will change, his costuming will change, depending on the ice cream or dessert that he's eaten, because he craves ice cream and dessert. And I was thinking, man, it'd be really funny if he was able to get his hands on that Patootie to Fruity flavor that changed him into one. And he, I was looking at my Hawaiian shirt thinking that would be a really hilarious costume for him. Excellent. And back to it. Now it's just a matter of finding that perfect line that I've created in the sketch. I always back up and look and compare. Oh yeah, this is much better. Much, much better. Other thing I want to look at too is I want to look at, I'll bring Edsel up here. That's on top, and I'm just kind of looking at him. Yeah, I'll give him her similar nose, because I really like the way she looks, but I like the way he looks, but she's got a little bit better facial features. So we're going to play more with him when I get to him. But for the most part, he's good. I don't have to do too much to him. And like I said, a lot of these characters are drawn from characters from my own personal history. Just little inspirations. Donna, for instance. I said it when I was drawing her the first time. There was a girl that I knew. She was a non-traditional student, meaning she was above the age of 25 at the time. She's married and had a kid. She was a freshman at the Ringling School of Art and Design with me. It's the Ringling College of Art and Design now, but back when it was cool, sorry, I was in several classes. One was my Painting 1 class. Or maybe it was my second year in college. But there was this one girl I got to be good friends with. She was just hilarious. She had a bubbly personality, and she was just really big, and she called her husband her sugar boo. And she would see me from across the parking lot going to class, and all I heard was, "Hey, Kyle!" And I would shout back, "Hey, Dawn!" So it stuck. And I'm like, that's how she would say her name. Like, for this character, she would put the emphasis on the, so Dawn. And it would be this really fun thing. And, now I can go into a little bit more detail with her. Maybe she's got, like, animal. An animal hairband. Maybe they're all different. I don't know. I mean, that's getting really detailed for this kind of animated show. So, let me check one thing real quick. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make sure sound was working. Just keep at it. Looking for those clean lines. And these don't, particularly with the hairband, they look messy when you're close up, but when I pull back, it's just representative of what's there, and a little bit of it's messed up. I don't like the way some of the lines work. And maybe she just has regular decorative pearl-esque kind of things going on with that one. And the thing about creating characters that have such a simple shape, it's both really hard and really easy. And here's what I mean. It's really easy because the shape is very simple and easily animatable by that standard, but it's also very hard because you can mess that shape up. Case in point would be like Mickey Mouse. He is deceptively hard. If those circles are even just a little bit off for like the ears compared to his head, it doesn't look like him anymore. Whereas a very complicated character, you can fudge a detail or two here and there, and people don't care. She has very eclectic taste. Important lines right here. If I don't get these right, I'll have to redo the whole thing. No, I'm just kidding. Excellent. And I'm keeping the hat simple. Like it's trying to find the simplest form of the character that still tells the story in a creative way and still makes the character visually interesting. All right. Check his hat. See, his is a little more curved. Hers sticks up a little bit more. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. She's also a little bit taller than all the other campers. So I wanted to make sure that was emphasized ever so slightly because it makes Vinny look even shorter because he's one of the smallest. Sheila, the girl from Australia, which I found that name kind of funny because, Sheila being what they would call a girl over there in slang. She's roughly the same size he is, but she is so much braver than he is. He's learning bravery and he thinks he's brave. He talks a big game, but in reality, he's not. I may do the color on these tonight, or I may just focus on getting the line work done. I'll tell you what, I'll get the line work done first, and then if we have time left, I'll go back and do color. Just making sure she's wearing the same kind of ornamentation that Vinny is, in a rough way. This is one of those things that unless you're looking at it up close, you wouldn't know. All right, let's give her a back look. Yeah! Now, size comparison, she still looks a bit too big compared to him, but that's easily fixed. Now, it's a scout-like uniform, but they don't have merit badges. This is just a camp, you know. I'm not looking for that. But it would be really funny to have one camper who treats it as if it is the Scouts and he's trying to outdo everybody else at everything. There will be one counselor that all the girls kind of swoon over. And Terry Ann, the kind of mean, a little bit sadistic counselor, can't stand because he's a reminder that she's not popular. Just an indication of bottom eyelashes helps. Sorry, I had to get a drink of tea tonight. The drink is oolong hot tea. Usually it's French roast coffee. Got to get that thumbs up camp logo. Like I said, I am going to be getting shirts made with the show logo on them and such, and I'll wear it for one of the live streams. I'll show you where you can get one if you'd like one. Probably going to be on Teespring. I use Redbubble for some of my other stuff, but lately I haven't been very happy with their service, so. Yeah, it's going good. Alright, this is where I start playing with other layers and get a little fancy smanchy. Because I like to do what's called draw through, and I don't want to have to keep erasing around lines and screwing up lines. Sometimes I'll put my hands in the position so I know where the thumb is, because sometimes I'll put the thumb on the wrong side when hands are bowed out like that, folded under. See, now when I'm drawing a layer above, this is layers 101. I'm not touching those lines, and I'll just drop it down. Hope the sound is better this time. I got a new rig for my mic, which puts it a little bit closer to my face. It was kind of behind my tablet before. And that's not good. Was muffling me, and then I would watch I'd watch a playback, and I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. So I've also been toying with the idea of doing some pre-recorded videos, not for Camp Zombie, because I want to keep that live. I want to be honest to the intent of what I'm doing with it, but maybe doing a Sci Friday, so I do more of the Cruz Francisco stuff. For those that know my work, Cruz Francisco is a character I created for another animated show that I'm still pitching, and it is in pre-production with a company. We're still finding distributors, but it's about a little boy who gets adopted by intergalactic bounty hunters. And there's a book that I have on sale. If you go to my website, which is linked below the video, but it's tkylegentry.com, there's a link to my store page, and you can get the book there. It's all the concept artwork I created to help pitch it. It's set in the late 60s, early 70s kind of era, like around when Clint Eastwood westerns were really popular, to keep that kind of cowboy feel, because I want a alien western kind of a feel to it. It's called Aliens and Outlaws is the name of the show. And you can actually get the book with all the concept artwork in it. I also sign them and do a drawing in them for you if you want to order the book. No biggie. But you can go check it out. And I was thinking about doing a Sci Friday pre-recorded video that's similar to this, but a little more condensed and um, just showcase that kind of stuff. I also do a series of creepy, funny family photos from my Macabre McMorbidly family I created. I wanted to, my favorite ride at Disney World is the Haunted Mansion. I wanted to create a series of portraits that looks like it could hang in that kind of a ride. So I sell those at shows, and I'm going to do a family album book, but I do what's called Seriously Sinister Sketches for Instagram and Facebook and MeWe that I post every couple of days. And it's just a little time lapse, a little 30-second time lapse that just shows kind of my ideation process for those. And it may not be the final design, but it's where I start with, and it's kind of fun to check that out. So my Instagram handle is TK Gentry Art, just like my YouTube channel. Like I said, you can find me on Facebook, my fan page at T. Kyle Gentry Character Designer, but I only post the artwork on there, and you're welcome to follow it. I'm on there a lot, but I don't accept personal friend requests anymore because Facebook is awful for their privacy stuff, and I just, no, it's just for the artwork. All right. I think she's tightened up pretty good. Yeah. Now let me get her size appropriate to this size Venny. I want to see. Let me look at the lineup down here. Yeah, she's way too big. If I look, the top of his eyes are kind of right in line with her nose, so we're gonna bring her down. There we go. Yeah. Keep the center line down, the center of top of her eyes right there. Yeah. Okay. I like that. That looks really good. Very pleased. All right. Now let's go to Sheila, who is tons of fun. She is so much fun. Oh my goodness, she's such a sweetheart. Her her accent, I can hear it in my head. I can so hear it in my head. And she is, her eyes and everything, just the way I basically use the same rough shape as Venny, this kind of egg shape. On her eyes are a little bit smaller. He's got a more innocent look. She's a little more worldly, but her eyes are still really, really big. Oh, thank you. Whew. Now I'm going to play with that a little bit. So I don't have to draw it again. Sometimes you get that size just where you want it, and why mess with a good thing? All right. Excellent. I wanted to give her a little bit of a pudgy nose. I don't want her to be too cute. Nope. Just a little bit of a pudge, not. I just don't want her nose to be like super tiny. And she's got lips. I just don't want them as emphasized as Donna's. Give her a smirk. Got to keep her in line with the other characters and show a chin. I realized as I go through and do these cleanups, I realize certain details that I didn't catch during first design phase. And little things that I need to fix. Keep the mouth the same style instead of just a simple line. You know, she's got a lip, and the way the mouth's keeping them all together in the same style. I gotta give her that same kind of design. Instead of just the line that she needs a chin, and she needs the line with the chin and all that stuff in order to look like she fits. So we're going to keep that up. Yeah, I imagine at home she's got a baby dingo and a baby crocodile for a pet, and you know, Big Dealey's alligator, pet alligator that lives underneath his shack or his garage, it's scary to the other students all except her. She's not scared of it at all. Nice. Except I need to bring this in a little bit because of the way I've drawn the characters. I want them all to be presented the same way, so there's going to be a little bit of a line between her eye and the side of her face. There's a lot of correcting that goes on with this stuff, and that's fine. Got to make sure it all fits, right? Ooh. But I'm looking for that perfect little flare. There we go. There it is. Lovely little flare. Okay. A little less on the eyeliner with her. Excellent. Her ears are also a little higher too. On Donna, her ear was down, like her kerchief was way up by her earlobes. Okay. And she has a side ponytail. I mentioned that the last time. And I have to emphasize that her entire hair is wrapped towards this ponytail. It all comes to a point right here, which can be tricky, but I don't know, the whole idea of the side ponytail was hilarious to me. Ever since I've seen girls with them from the 80s when I grew up, because that was my era, as a kid, young teen. And then when I saw Napoleon Dynamite with his love interest there who has a side ponytail, it was like epic. Just doing a little canvas rotation there to get the right angle on my pen strokes. Oops. So I was having a bit of pen lag. I may have mentioned this in the last live stream, but I was having some pen lag with the new computer and the tablet, and I figured out what it was. I have a gamepad with programmable keys that I was using for my art programs to program the keys, and it turns out that it didn't like to share space with Clip Studio and with the other art programs. It was causing an issue, so I had to nix it. I had to take it off my system. You know, it served me well for years. If I can't plug it back in, it doesn't owe me anything. Let me back off. Yeah, of course I'm drawing her way bigger than she is, but you'll also notice too, if you look at the rest of the work on my website, this is far simpler than how I usually draw. It's because this is a show like straight up for hand-drawn animation. And it's simple lines and details there, but it's implied, it's not shown directly. So let me bring this back arm down a little bit. I was just doing a little bit of hand measuring. I do have a tool. I don't see it laying here, but I have a tool that is used for finding. Yeah, there it is. Give me 1 second. I have a tool that is used for finding the golden section. It's Fibonacci calipers. They look like this. And it's the Fibonacci ratio, and I can't give you the exact points, but this is a little bit bigger than this, and you use it to measure spaces. And I got this from Steven Silver. It's one that he actually makes. It's his little logo right there. And I use it to measure out, I wish I could show you this, but the distance between the top of her head and like her kerchief is the Fibonacci size. Like from space right below her belt buckle, between her legs, right about where her thigh meets her body, to her mouth, to the top of her head. It's a perfect sequence. And I've gotten to the point where I start doing that subconsciously, which is good because it keeps me from doing equal parts, which I don't want to do. I don't want to keep things equal. I want, and obviously the big emphasis on these characters are their heads. That's the focus. And I am emphasizing the 80s a lot here, like the Camp Zombie is from the 80s, and there's a lot of styling here from the 80s. There's going to be a lot of like bracelets and bling and things like that. You know, maybe the style of the music is like that. Kind of like how, for those that remember it, there was a TV show on, it was a Scooby-Doo TV show in the late 80s, early 90s called A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. And it was kind of a cool version of Scooby-Doo, and the kids were all in elementary school. And, Freddie, Velma, Shaggy, and Daphne, they were all in elementary school solving crimes. And it was like a super caricaturized version of each of them. But it had this cool music vibe that was doo-wop. Like from the late 50s, early 60s, like you'd hear from a jukebox, and it was really cool. I would love to have like an 80s vibe to this. If this ever got turned into a real cartoon, I would love an 80s like synth rock vibe, because that would be the music that the zombie would listen to. He's from the 80s. But this would be the girl that like goes out and is rough and tumble, and the camp is in the Everglades, as I've said before, and she wears flip-flops, like it's nothing. In Florida, you would not wear flip-flops in the Everglades, not if you were deep in the swamp. It's boots or regular shoes of some kind, but definitely not flip-flops. The water is briny, and you get both sharks and alligators. A lot of people don't know that. And snakes that have been brought over illegally from other countries, or when they get too big or like unmanageable, they get released by their owners illegally into the Everglades swamps, and it's causing a huge problem. But it gives me interesting ammunition, if you will, to go off with the characters. And yes, she's carrying it's not a football, it's a rugby ball, because that's real big in Australia and New Zealand. So in talking about this, like when I talk about this stuff, it's not just about the design, because there are plenty of artists who can design like this. It's not, but this is as much about original ideas and how to make those come about as it is just simply the design work. And you're going to hear me talk a lot about that. I'm an idea guy as much as I am an artist, and it's fun to come up with ideas for this stuff. It's fun to see if you can make something work. And the cool thing about ideas is that they don't all have to be done by you. It can be collaborative. It can be, because if you're on a team of people, it has to be collaborative. You have to be open to other people's ideas and interpretations on stuff that you're thinking of, and that happens all the time in animation and whatnot. And if you cling too hard to wanting it just your way, then you'll never be successful in that industry. You just won't, because you'll be missing out on things that could actually make the idea better, like a lot better. I mean, there's some things that you set hard and fast in the show Bible, as it gets produced, like things that the characters never do, but that's after discussion and design and figuring out, why that is, or if it's just a rule just for fun, because that can be a why. But I learned one thing from author friends of mine in the children's book industry. In each episode, the hero has to solve the problem, or the heroes. It depends on who's the hero of the specific episode. They have to be the problem solvers, or else it's going to feel like the viewer's been cheated at the end, and you don't want that. Just little story things here and there that's part of development. It's part of figuring out who a character is and why. That's why you need a cast of characters, not just one hero, because it gets really boring if the same hero is the only one that solves the problem. That's why you need more than one hero. Nice. Yeah, there we go. Now she's going to be roughly the same size as Venny. A little bit of a change here. I didn't like an angle on this. It's not setting flat enough for my taste. Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's roughly the same size. Maybe a teeny tiny bit bigger. Excellent. Get Donna here, size-wise, and see. No, I want to make her a little bit smaller too. I'm going to make Sheila just even smaller than that. Because I still want Donna to be taller. And I didn't put a hat on Sheila on purpose. She's, you know, mess with her side ponytail. Maybe she has one. That's just this shot I wanted to use of her. Okay. She's like waving toodaloo. I don't like the hand position. All right. Okay. Let's get into Terry Ann's design. She's fun. Oh yeah, lots of attitude here. Yeah, Terry Ann, former beauty contestant. What can I say about this poor girl? She's been cheated out of a lot, and now she's got to put up with these kids that she can't stand to be around. You know, she has her moments. All right. She's like one of those kids that was a beauty contestant when she was a toddler. And all the attitude that goes with entitlement. There we go. Don't worry, I'll fix that. Pencil uno momento. Little nose, and I've purposely made her eyes further, like spaced out further. Something to be said about, there was a movie a lot of you are familiar with, Unbreakable. I think that's what it was called. Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson. It was a M. Night Shyamalan movie. He said villains traditionally have like slightly more angular eyes, and you know, when he was talking about comic book villains at the end and how that works together, and he had some really great, interesting design points. Quentin Tarantino also loved comic books in the same way, and has a great love of comic books and villains, and Shyamalan really played into that. You know, a lot of directors have these great love of, you know, characters that are dark, and design wise, why do they look like that? And we pull a lot of that from, you know, you're building your talent on other people's work always, because you'll never invent something new. You might look at it with a fresh perspective, but it's not new, and the filmmakers recognize this. And Shyamalan and Tarantino understood this, and in looking at her, her eyes are spaced out, you know, a little bit further apart than the other characters, and it sets her apart. And she's not the big villain; she's a villain. Yeah, I'm not digging that. I'm losing something in the character. The method I'm using, I'm gonna change how I'm doing it. But the space between eyes says something about the character, and if there's something a little bit off about what your eye perceives as what should be normal, then that tends to make you not trust the character. That's why, traditionally speaking, you always saw in old black and white movies, it's cliche, but the mustache twirling villain, because facial hair was considered, you know, like pirates had it, you know, it was considered something of a villainous thing. And I mean, I've got a goatee, and I'm not a villain, but I recognize that in history, like in film and in artwork, that had its moment. And as I look through designs for villains and the angular of the villains, as I talked about shape language several sessions back, I played with like her head being more of a point at the top than circular, and she's got the points on her big bow, things like that, as I talked about it. Um, Eyes, the angular of the eyes, like her eyes are further apart, and there's a little bit more of a point up in the edges. And you'll never see what her full eyes look like. I don't want that. It's one of those things. Her bangs are, it's her way of hiding herself and her face, and you know how beautiful she thinks she used to be, and probably was when she was a child. And that gets really far into child psychology than I'm wanting to go, but uh, just say she's a failed BD contestant and leave it at that. And she carries that anger with her. Or a former child BD contestant. Shirley Temple gone wrong. Something like that. There we go. Okay. Put in a little bit of a hint right there of how that all works together. Again, this is probably more detailed than the actual cartoon would be of her, the moving cartoon would be with her, but and again, you can ask questions if you're on like the actual YouTube channel. You can type in questions and I'll do my best to ask. I can answer questions as best I can about Clip Studio Paint. It's my main program, and there's things that I know how to do very well, and there's things that I rarely touch that other artists use all the time. I didn't do as much layer masking as I used to. Other artists do a ton of masking for some things. I don't do it as much. I use some of the base tools of masking. I try not to make my life too overcomplicated with what I'm using and what I'm not in here. The simpler I can keep the image, the easier it is for me to make adjustments. When I'm moving an image around up in the navigator, when it's flipped around like this, it's a little difficult for me to orientate it sometimes. All right. Yes. Oh, little Terry Ann. Man, she must have been a delightful child, you know? And I wanted to have basically like pitch black hair. That's why the shine is so high. One thing I love about like Asian-centric hair is that it's so dark and it's got such a luster to it, and it just comes flawless to their genetics. It's just beautiful. You know, I can imagine her not believing in anything, you know, zombie-like. She thinks the kids are crazy. She may have even have heard them talking, and she just thinks they're, you know, just being silly or stupid or something. The adults, you know, have a hard time. Edsel is going to be the hard one because I want it to be so that he was an actual camper. When Lurkin was an actual human working there on his summer job as a chef or a cook at the camp, and having Edsel kind of sort of recognize him, but not. You know, maybe he thinks this is like the kid, like the son of the former worker or something like that. You know, all story stuff. Yeah. I'll really go in dark with these. I'm using pressure to make the lines bigger and darker. I haven't changed the size of the brush. You know, as like I said, doing maybe Sci Fridays, or doing some pre-made videos that I can upload. I won't do it every week, but just something else to throw up here for people to see the other stuff that I do. Maybe doing Macabre Mondays, so it'd be about my Macabre family, my Macabre McMorbidlies. I think that'd be a lot of fun. That way I wouldn't have to worry about live stream, and I could edit the video a little bit. And I like doing that stuff, playing with that. I'm still a novice at it, so I like learning. I'm not worried about the draw through here because I'm going to erase a lot of the top to get it where I want it. There we go. Okay. That way when I come back in with a line up here that's pitch black, it won't matter. Okay. Yes. There we go. Throwing the lines to make her look like she's angry underneath the bangs. There we go. Just that perfect little curve that I'm looking for at the bottom of these kind of bows, of her bows, that I keep redrawing, and it might look good to you, but I'm not hitting it, and I know I'm not. That's why I'll keep redrawing it. The side's a little better. I can get away with a little more give on the side. There we go. Change it up just a little bit. That's all right. The pattern in the bow I'll do with color. Make the little tie a little bit smaller to make it look like it's stretched around her more. This doesn't, it fits a lot more snugly. Should be drawing this on another layer, but I'm just saving time right at the moment. Draw on another layer like I did the other stuff and do a draw through. Sometimes I can just cut time a little bit down like that when I'm confident enough with the lines. I feel like I'm not going to screw something up, which I do a lot of times anyway. I need something to denote too, maybe a big C on her uniform somewhere denoting counselor. Would be kind of fun. Got the same logo as everybody else. I'm not going to put the pockets on. I don't want her to look too much like the campers. But she's got belt loops on hers. Get rid of that line. Yeah, I think we're just going to get to the lines tonight. I'm not going to get to the color tonight. That's okay. Like I said, I try to keep it from an hour to an hour and a half, and we're into over an hour now, so I want to respect your time. Keep these easily viewable without being too intrusive of your time. Maybe do a big circle in the middle that says C for counselor. That works. She's proud of it. There we go. Do the thumbs up logo for the camp right here. She's super uptight about how she looks and following the regulations, so she'd have her socks pulled all the way up. Yeah. It's nice and relaxing tonight. I spent a part of today trying to get a PlayStation 5. I'm one of those poor souls that gets on there and tries to get them when they come in stock, and I'm a big gamer and I want one, but man, it's frustrating. They really messed up the release on that. Maybe this is her list of activities for the campers that day that she's been assigned to make them do. She runs it like a child labor camp sweat house kind of thing. Or at least she thinks she should. All the things that she's got checked off that they've done or need to do. Too far. Yeah, it's looking good. And I love giving my characters what I charmingly described as pancake feet for this style. Flat and wide. More in common with a duck than a real human foot. And then I make one leg too short. That's what happens when I focus so much on getting the line correct and lose touch of the overall design. It's very easy to do. There we go. Yeah, sometimes I have to reset the pen. It's Wacom's, my tablet company. It's sometimes their interfaces goes a little wonky. If I move too fast with quick keys and things like that, it does some funny stuff sometimes. Yeah. Now let me check size lineup. Yeah, she needs to be bigger. All right. Bring Venny down to her level. Yeah, that works. That's the right size. Make C. Bring Sheila down. Bring Donna down. Move Terry-Ann over. Move everybody over. Should have made the canvas bigger. Yeah, it's alright. Doesn't matter if their lines overlap a little bit. Yeah, it works pretty good. I think we'll keep that. There might be a little bit of design difference here and there. I might actually move her eyes back just a touch closer together. I still want them further apart to make you a little bit uneasy with her, like I said, but it's an ongoing process, and character design is always an ongoing process. So going back and revisiting is not a bad thing. And like I said, I might take one of these characters and pull a fast one on you and do like what a director would do and say, okay, got to redesign this character. The test audiences didn't like it, so I might take one of them, just like, to the drawing board we go again, and just scrap the whole thing for that particular character and just start over. Don't know. I don't know. I want to surprise you. I've been surprised like that many times, and it sucks. So, all right. Bring in good old Edsel, and we'll finish on him tonight. Bring up Donna, because there was some, like I said, there was some stuff on her that I want to emulate. I actually might just copy the nose over so I don't have to redraw it. Because I really like the way this came out for her. Just put it on old Edsel over here. Because it is his niece. Change the size and the angle a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Liking that. Okay, so he's an adult, and while I do have a line in between his eyes, it's almost too harsh and too much. So again, using Venny here as the guide point, if you will, we're going to actually, let me do another little sketch layer underneath that I can play with, and it won't be too serious. So I'm going to keep his eyes right there. I'm going to keep the openness and just bring the line up just a little more. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. All right, I don't need this other stuff. I just needed that line. put those other stuff there just to check. Okay, so let's bring that down even more. All right. Put this as in an angle that's more natural to my hand to draw. Oop, didn't mean to do that. What I did want to do is bring it over just a little bit. Just a touch. Also, like I said, save myself a lot of work here by copying and pasting. All the big guys do it. Okay, and then I'll go in and correct that little line. There's a spare line there that I don't like. What side did I have the shine on? I think it was the left side. Yeah. Ah, dang it. Screwed myself up. Didn't leave myself enough room for that line. Better draw that now before I forget. There we go. Okay, now let's see. Yep. Right there. Lovely. All right, now one thing I didn't do on his drawing that I should have done was create the area for the color. But he looks a lot more like his niece now. Make that line a lot smaller. Oof, almost. Almost perfect. Almost. There we go. Okay. And let me fill in some of this with that fill tool there's a tolerance to the side that still leaves a little bit of a white line that I'm not happy about at the moment. There we go. Let me move this up. Amazing what that can do, huh? Kill the bottom of it just a little bit, and then redraw just a little bit. Okay. Back off. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, way too big. Okay. Like I said, I still want to keep that open inside of the eye a bit because I really think it was starting to lose it there. All right. Remember what I said early on too, the more lines you draw, the older a character looks, so I can go a little bit more nuts with the lines around his eyes. Makes him look older. It implies wrinkles even when there aren't any. And he's got the same basic lips as his niece. A little more angular, a little more masculine. He's a pleasant guy. He's the counselor, the campers all like him. Let's give him a bigger chin though. There we go. Yep, that's her uncle. Bring the sides of my brush back up. Like, they have to keep the zombie a secret from him too, like I said, even though he probably would understand, and maybe he would be the one guy that would find out that that they wouldn't get in trouble with, or something like that, or he becomes an ally because the director is directly responsible for Lurkin becoming a zombie, and that'll be revealed later. That would be revealed, like, you would know right away from the credits, the opening credits of the first episode that shows the backstory. But the kids wouldn't know that right away. Or he would be the founder that's been missing for decades or something. Or he's been hiding out, on some kind of sinister plan. All this stuff is up in the air right now. Yep. Finish this guy up and then we'll be done for the night. And get away with a little more detail on his hat because it's older, a little more worn. Not too worried about spare lines right here. Can look a little more rough. Yes, coming along nicely. Okay. Like, his biggest concern is making sure the campers are turning out to be well-rounded people. He has their best concerns at heart, things like that. He's probably, of the adults, he is the best of the adults. He kind of keeps Terry-Ann from going too crazy with her attitude, and expects the best out of her as well, even though she probably reluctantly does it, but she has enough respect for him that she's good with it. Like, just as she's getting them to do something awful, he steps in, and not realizing what she's doing is like, oh, what are you children doing here? Let's go out and, do arts and crafts or something. That's what I had scheduled for the day. Terry-Ann, you know better than that. He's got a collar on his shirt. And epaulets, and, on the sides, maybe. If you could see his shoulders, you'd be able to see those. Also got his shirt rolled up. He's got insignias and whatnot. And braids and whatnot. Definitely has a belt with loops. Maybe his belt buckles. Oval. Keeping that wide stance going on is the style for all the characters, of course. Nice. Don't like that line. Okay. Almost there. Yeah, he's got kind of a floating hand out there. It's not really connected to the side of his body. I'll fix that when I do the color. Which won't be tonight. That'll be probably next time. Maybe a little bit more cleanup on some of the other characters next time. Or maybe I'll change it up and save the color for another night and start doing some of the environmental stuff next time. That'd be fun, huh? Pancake feet. Watch how it's sitting. Make sure it looks flat. Otherwise, it's just bad drawing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll fix this right now, actually. There we go. Okay. Like I said, I didn't have it overlapping his hip, so it didn't look connected correctly. Oop. I'm going to do the lines on his, even though all the other students are going to have the mesh going on and they'll be done with color. His is a little bit of an older hat, a little bit more of a truck driver hat. Nice. All right. I think I'll stop there for the evening, and I'll pick it up again next Thursday night. Let me show you again the lineup. Right, so this is the lineup the characters we're dealing with. Venny, Donna, Turo, Sheila, Terry-Ann, Big Dealy Neely, Mr. Edsel, Director Scratchel, and Ben Larkin. So these are the characters, the main lineup of characters. There will be other characters I design and such as we go along in a design. I'm going to specifically redesign the director hard because there's parts of him that I really like, parts of him that I don't, just like Lurkin. And we'll redesign as we go, with the end goal of having sort of a mock character concept and environment story bible, if you will, for presenting this as an actual show. And this is condensed on these videos. Like if I was doing these for myself without doing a video, it would be a bit more hardcore. I'm trying to give you the highlights of what I think about when I'm doing these kind of things. So like I said, if you have any questions or anything like that while you're watching, don't hesitate to type them. I will answer them as best I can. This is something I've been doing for 20 years, and I'm still, bear with me while I'm still kind of gathering my thoughts as I speak about them because I'm not used to talking while I'm doing it. So I appreciate the patience. But I hope you enjoyed tonight. I'll bring up the ones that I designed again tonight so you can see them all. So there's Edsel, Terrian, and Vinny, and Sheila and Donna. So I hope you guys had a good time, like I said. And I will definitely see you next Thursday when I continue on our lovely little adventure of designing for this show, this fictitious show, this Camp Zombie show. Maybe one day it'll be a real thing. It'd be a lot of fun. It'd be really fun to see on TV. So anyway, hope you guys had a good time tonight, like I said, and have a great week. Be safe. Watch out for each other. Be kind to the people around you. And God bless you. See you later, guys.